Hello and welcome back to WompRat Radio Tatooine. It's March. We are talking about the ending of the Book of Boba Fett, maybe a little about the Galactic Star Cruiser, and oh my gosh, did you see the trailer that dropped today? Kenobi!
More wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Impressive. Most impressive. You are not a Jedi yet.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power.
I love you.
I know.
It binds the galaxy together.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
No disintegration.
As you wish.
Half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder.
This is where the fun begins.
At last, we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi.
Feel. Don't think. Use your instincts.
This is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause. Ahsoka. My name is Ahsoka Tano.
Why did you come here?
Because of you and your apprentice.
You already know the truth. The belonging you seek is not behind you. It is ahead.
My name's Rex. But you'll call me Captain or Sir. Sir, yes, sir!
They said 50 years old.
The commission was quite specific. The asset was to be terminated.
Whoa, man. Slow down. You might want to quit while you're ahead.
You might want to quit while you're behind.
You cannot tear this ship apart until you found those plans and bring me the passengers. I want them alive.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only
Not
hope.
so fast. It appears I have an idiot's array.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
He doesn't like you.
Sorry.
I don't like you either.
I am Bo-Katan of Clan Kryze.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Use the Force, Luke.
Let go, Luke. You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Put Captain Solo in a cargo hold.
Could be worse.
It's worse.
Ranger Crest, do you copy? Have to reduce speed.
Almost there. Almost there.
Ranger Crest, do you copy?
May the Force be with you.
Your destiny lies with me, Skywalker. Obi-Wan knew this to be true. Wars not make one great.
Thank Ferric, that was close.
You were right. You were right about me.
Oh man, here we go again. It is so good to be back. Thanks everybody for joining me. And with me to celebrate so many things, my friend Stan Solo. Stan, what is happening, buddy?
Hello. I got my Grogu shirt on. I'm ready to talk some wars.
I see that. That's exactly what we're going to do. So last time it's been a little while and I apologize for that, but we're doing this as often as we can because look, at the end of the day, you and I are huge Star Wars fans and we love to talk about this stuff. That's why we do this. Jimmy and Ed couldn't be with us tonight because things happen, right? It's the way that it is. But last time, if you remember, Stan, you couldn't make it.
Right.
And I did the Book of Boba Fett number 1 through 6, catching everybody up. So we got to talk about 7. But at the same time, there was this Galactic Star Cruiser thing that launched not long ago, which, by the way, you and I spent some time on something called the Solo Show, the Stan Solo Show. Which you can find out on Facebook, the page, and on all the places you listen to podcasts, because I got to spend 4 hours on that incredible thing, the Halcyon, as documented in the Legacy of the Halcyon comic
And
books.
I'm not jealous at all that you got to go for 4 hours. Jeez.
It was a 4-hour tour, but like the Muppet Vision, it's a 2.5-hour finale. You got 2.5 minutes, so that's what happened. Hello, Tina. Hello, Holly. Thank you for joining us. That's for certain.
And
but Stan, there's so much going on, dude. Between that and then we got this Kenobi trailer that dropped today. Are you kidding me?
I must have watched that like 12 times already.
At least 12 times. It's something that we have been looking forward to because we knew at the beginning of the year that we were going to get um, the Book of Boba Fett. Then we have this Kenobi series coming. Then we have the Bad Batch coming. Then we have Casey on, and there's so many things coming.
Andor.
Thank you for Andor. Thank you for Disney. Thank you, Disney Plus. Can we just throw that out there? Thank you, Disney Plus.
It's a great time to be a Star Wars fan.
It sure is. So let's jump in a little bit if that's cool.
Yeah.
Is that all right? And by the way, thank you guys for joining us. We absolutely love it. Christy, good to see you out there. So let's talk timeline first, Dan, because that's where I always like to start, right? Where are we in this Star Wars timeline?
Yeah.
Because some things are changing, some things are happening. And what I wanted to do was start with, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Rangers of the Republic. We haven't seen anything from Ahsoka or the Rangers of the Republic yet. These were all announced previously. Those are going to be set around the same time as the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian, which is 9 years after the Battle of Yavin. Right? The Battle of Yavin is the original Death Star for those of you that aren't familiar with the timeline. Everything starts when Luke Skywalker blew up the first Death Star. That's ground zero. And then we have the prequels before it and the sequels after it. And those take place in 9 after the Battle of Yavin. So the Empire has been beaten and the First Order is not yet risen. That's why we see all of those things going. But Stan, I also wanted to point out this whole Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, the voyage that you can go on, all of that happens between Star Wars The Last Jedi and Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, a very specific point in time between those two movies, which was only a year long. This is 35 years after the destruction of the first Death Star. But that's interesting in the timeline, right?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? This past Saturday or Sunday, I watched all 3 movies back to back to back to back.
The sequel trilogy.
Sequels. All 3 sequels, yeah.
And
They were
by the way,
I remembered them. I really enjoyed them. I got right into them watching them like that.
I want to do that again to see them back and forth. And by the way, I'll tell you one thing I love. And over at Sam's Disney Diary, you guys can see the entire press conference that happened the evening before that Galactic Star Cruiser thing. I recorded the whole thing. Disney gave you permission. It's up there. But when Doug Chen, who is with Lucasfilm, right? This is a guy that worked with George and all that kind of stuff. He talks about the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and the sequel trilogy. And I just thought it was cool when he talked about it. And he talked about it in the context of this Star Cruiser. The Star Cruiser has elements from all of those things. And I just thought it was neat to hear him call it like that. So
I ran into him one time. Did I ever tell you that?
You did not, really?
Yeah. I was at Star Wars Celebration, and he was just walking around on this floor.
Yeah.
And I go, hey,
cool
you're Doug Chang. And he goes, yeah. I go, can I get a picture with you? And he goes, sure. So I took a selfie, and I got him to sign my badge. And they had a Lego display there that he hadn't seen yet. So I started telling him about this Lego display there. And I took him to it. I showed him the Lego display, and he was wowed by it.
Dude, speaking of Legos, by the way, I got my Mandalorian busted. I got the whole new set, right? Mando and the Red 5.
That one's nicer. I gotta say, for a Lego set, that one looks better. I think, just from the box, maybe real.
Yeah, and I also got the Dark Trooper, which is the 3rd in the series that just came out.
Nice,
not too bad.
Is the visor bricks? I guess so. On
the visor appears
on the
to
Mando.
be on the Mando.
The T visor. They
yes, it is.
Bricks?
And I'll tell you why I know, because I have a Boba Fett that you can't see. It's up there.
But are they extra shiny, or are they?
There are some shiny ones around his eyes. Sorry, some shiny ones around his eyes, then just black ones go down.
Yeah. Cool.
Which make it kind of cool because it does look like a visor. I'd love to wear it if I could. That'd be really cool. Anyway, let's get back to where we were. Back into the sort of where we are here in the trilogy. The Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, and then of course we now know the Obi-Wan series, which I had talked about previously, and we had this at 13 BBY, but now with the trailer, we have some confirmation that this is 9 years before the Battle of Yavin. And by the way, we'll get to it later, but we know that during the Battle of Yavin, Luke Skywalker was 19 years old.
Right. Okay. So Luke was born at the end of episode 3. So how many years is this after episode 3?
So you're looking at 9 years after. Wait, that was 19 BBY. You're 10 years after that. 9 years before the Battle of
Luke
Yavin.
will be 10.
Luke's 10. I love
see
it
Luke
when the
in the
math
trailer.
works. We do. And I love it when the math works there, Stan, because it's 9 years before the Battle of Yavin, and it's 10 years after Episode 3 when he was born at the end of that. So he's 10 years old right in the middle of this. And interestingly enough, we'll get to it. This is like just after the events of the Solo, a Star Wars story.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chewie's out there, Han's out there. We also know that Darth Maul's out there somewhere. We'll get to that later. But how cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, we gotta hope.
Tina's asking, when is Bad Batch coming back? We were just
That's a
talking
great
about
question. Stan and I were talking about that off the air because, Stan, you had some news regarding Andor.
Yes.
The series that's going to be, right around Rogue One or just before Rogue One. If you remember, Cassian Andor was one of the characters in Rogue One that helped Jalen Erso retrieve the plans of the Death Star. What did you hear, Stan?
So he said it's going to be 12 episodes, but they're dividing it up into 2 seasons. So season 1 is done, and it's supposed to come out in Q4 of this year.
So late this year. That's our Christmas sort of thing then.
Yeah.
We're hoping the Bad Batch is before that.
Yeah.
And
then they're currently filming season 2, which is going to be episode 7 to 12
of Andor. So there's 2 episodes, and I'm assuming that we have in here about 5 BBY because we don't know. This episode follows that character leading him to Jalen Erso in the events that happen to retrieve the Death Star plans.
So episode 6 is going to end in a cliffhanger.
I would think episode 6 is going to end in you got to wonder if who else could be in there? I mean, could be lots of people.
Well, Vader will be around. No, he would. Yeah.
Vader's going to be around. Mon Mothma's going to be around.
Yeah.
Wonder if Mon Mothma's in there, or who knows? A whole bunch of new characters. That's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It will definitely be cool, but it's going to set some of that stage. And I haven't heard, Stan, anything about Mandalorian season 3, which was also on the horizon here, right?
That they said that's not going to be till 2023.
Okay, so maybe that's
on
our
that big
early
announcement
2023.
Yeah.
And of course,
I believe it's Q1 2023.
Okay, that's cool. So about a year away.
Yeah.
We got lots of Star Wars before then, but of course everybody wants to know what happens there. So let's get back to Book of Boba Fett, because when I talked to Jimmy and Ed, we went through all the movie posters, which I love so much about any of these specials that Disney Plus is doing, the movie posters, because they're so cool and they come out after the episode, but they give you details on some of the characters and who's going to be in them. We see the twins, the Hutt twins.
They were kind of like that they didn't do anything with them.
They didn't, but it makes me wonder where they went. What's going on? They went off world.
Back later on a different
Something's
series.
going on. The Tuskens, Black Cathantrum, we'll get back to him.
Mm-hmm.
The Mods, the Rancor Keeper, some recurring characters, right? Like the Armorer, and of course Mando and Cad Bane. All good stuff. Gotta love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we talked about all those. No post. So my big question when we did this was, will there be any new characters in Chapter 7 to add to this poster? And the answer was no. It was sort of everything in those first 3 builds up to that 7th episode. So everything that happened in Stranger in the Strangeland, all of that leads up to In the Name of Honor, which we got out of Chapter 7. And Tina, I'm with you. The posters are awesome. And in fact, Stan, I have more posters.
No,
because after this finished, there was a poster that came out for each episode. So this was episode 1 or chapter 1, the way that they call it. And chapter 2 is when Boba was with the Tuskens, and chapter 3 is when the 2 Hutts show up, the twins, along with the Rancor. Which, by the way, I think we all called it. This thing's going to come back.
Well, we all knew he was going to end up riding it in the final episode.
Well, come on, they rode the Mythosaurus. Your kind rode the Mythosaurus all the way back, and that was the original cartoon. So yes. The Sarlacc was really cool, looking into the Sarlacc, and then some people would argue that
the thing with the Sarlacc I didn't understand with that episode, he had those little drones, or rather,
Sheed Fennec did.
Yeah, she had those little. Why didn't they send a drone in to look for his armor?
Yeah, you're right. She did. She had the one that went in and mapped Jabba's palace and told him exactly where.
They could map the whole Sarlacc pit.
You're right. That's
exactly, and where the armor was. Didn't make sense.
Then, so the first 4 episodes, the Book of Boba Fett, and then some people will argue, myself included, that Jason, what's up, man? Holly,
Hey, Jason.
I would also argue that episodes 5 and 6 were really the Mandalorian chapter 2.5, right? Or season 2.5, because that
It was so good to see Mandalorian come back, though. It just pumped
it
me up for
was.
yeah.
Dude, when he pulled the black saber out and he was still
Yeah.
struggling with it and couldn't quite. Yeah, that was.
We haven't talked about the series at all, you and I.
We haven't, because you haven't been on. So yeah.
No.
Hey Dave, hello from Indianapolis. This is WompRat
right.
Radio. Stan and I are tonight just talking Star Wars, getting caught up on the Book of Boba Fett. What's chapter 6? We got to go to where it left off there, Stan, before we jump into chapter 7. So left off with a duel between Cad Bane and Cod Vanth, the sheriff on Tatooine, who doesn't have his armor anymore. He gets the best of him, but we noted that it looks like it went off his shoulder. I'm not sure if that would have been a fatal blow or not.
Yeah, we kind of figured it wasn't.
How
awesome was it to see Cad Bane, though? Wasn't that
it was cool as can be. Still voiced by Corey Burton, and Cad's a big part of chapter 7. Corey Burton, of course, famous for all of the Disney park characters that he's voiced. He's been part of the parks panels. Just amazing, the stuff that guy's done.
Yeah.
Then you go to the other big cliffhanger, which was, is he gonna pick the Mandalorian inspired sweater, or is he gonna go with the green lightsaber that clearly was Yoda's? And but you have to choose only one. So thanks, Luke. That's exactly what we wanted to see. What do you got there, man? You got yourself a little lightsaber.
Got Yoda's.
Nice.
Yoda's
I like it, buddy.
It's a lot shorter than the regular lightsaber.
Yeah. Oh, very good.
It's very loud one.
Exactly what happened when it was turned on here, and it was interesting that Luke is posing the question, choose one. Because we all know the history of Star Wars, it was all about going back to your friends. Luke did it again and again in the original trilogy, helping his friends.
Well, even Han came back in episode 4 with the had reward loaded. He could have taken off. He came back.
So all of that said, I think a lot of people were sort of like, of course he's going to go back to Mando. Why wouldn't he do it? I mean, he's still a kid in the grand scheme of things, right?
I honestly didn't know what he was going to do, to tell you the truth, but looking back at it makes sense.
Well, but at the end of the day, do we know what really happened? We just know that as the story progresses, Luke says, R2, take him. Right? At some point,
he used his Jedi mind trick and told Luke, I'm taking both and leaving.
So we don't, but I wonder if we'll ever see that play out. What happened next in that scene? What did Grogu do? What was the conversation? Because it almost looked like Grogu was going to say something when they cut away.
Yeah.
Didn't it, Stan? It looked like he was going to talk.
It looked like he was going to talk. Away. Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, man. All right. So let's jump back into chapter 7. Chapter 7 starts with Boba and Fennec essentially visiting what was the sanctuary that was bombed in the last episode. Right, commenting that, do you think we can live through this without Mos Espa being completely destroyed? Then we cut back to Cad, who is with the mayor and his henchmen. Now we know that the mayor is clearly in bed with the Pike Syndicate and others, right? Because all of those factions that Boba Fett had gone to and said, "Hey, remain neutral," but none of them did.
Yeah, they're all there.
Then we cut back, and there's an X-wing showing up. Which, by the way, dude, I thought this was great storytelling when who's the proprietor here? I'm blanking on her name. With the droids.
Yeah. I call her Carla. That's what she reminds me of.
That's right. She reminds me of Cheers, is what she reminds me of. But anyway, she's like, hide that. The sheriff's coming. Hide this. Hide
Put
that.
that away. What's the next thing here?
She
comes out. I filed my papers just as you're pulling up.
Exactly. You're more familiar with it because you just watched it. And wait, what's going on in the X-wing? Wait a minute. How'd you get here? I just thought that was cool.
No, did you think it was Luke's X-wing and Luke was coming to help save the day?
That thought did cross my mind.
That's what I thought.
Absolutely thought it was Luke's X-wing because the first shot we see of it is R2 silhouette, and it was R2.
Yeah.
So I thought this is Luke's
coming back to help the
This is Luke's X-Wing. He's coming in. He's going to save the day. Everything's going to be good. And then somehow there's going to be a reunion between Mando and Grogu, and Luke's going to be like, yeah, go with him.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. It was more Luke saying, okay, then I'm not training you. Get out of here. I will take on my next first student. Who, Stan, do you know, according to the comics, who the first student was in Luke's new?
Oh, it's supposed to be Ben Solo.
It's Ben Solo, yes.
Yeah, in the movie, he says it was my first student.
And it's in the comics. There's a Kylo Ren comic book that starts with him as a Padawan, as the first student in Luke's academy, which was another reason why, if you knew that backstory, you're like, he can't stay with Luke because he's not his first student unless something else happens there. So that was. Then as we continue on, we see that Fennec is talking about we have all the places guarded, which, by the way, the bikes still look way too clean.
I don't understand that look at all.
It's okay. That's two middle-aged white guys arguing over something petty. So I understand that, everybody. If you like them, that's great. I'm not buying the models.
I don't get it at all.
So they are watching the port. The Gamorrean guards, who I've come accustomed to now. I kind of like these guys.
Well, they look better now because they're back to kind of the original look. They don't have like the sweaters on and the vests and everything.
Yeah. But they're watching for any unnecessary things or waiting for the Pikes to attack. Yeah. And of course, Black Cathanchan is back at the downtown, just hanging out, looking for things, which is kind of cool. And in that whole process, we get to see Mr. Cat again, and that is a cool picture. Those teeth, man, come on.
They did an awesome job on this whole look of him.
Those teeth, the snout. Thank you, Tina.
Those
I don't know that they're awful. I just they don't belong.
They took me out of that.
And I'll tell you later why they don't belong, because I thought I was okay with it for a little while, because these are kids, they're keeping them clean, they're washing them every day.
With what? They can't afford water. They're stealing water.
It was something. There's something they're doing to keep them clean. They're wiping them down. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt there, Stan. But then I would expect when you go through a battle, at the end of the battle, it would be battle worn and damaged and messed up and look like Boba Fett's helmet.
Universe.
Right, but they never got to that way.
Yeah.
All right, so he shows up to talk to Boba Fett for a bit, and then all of a sudden we see that the locals are turning on our friends. They're starting to attack them. And like I said before, as soon as I start to like a character in this movie, like I start to show an affection for the Sand People, and then
they could have actually done this scene a little bit better to tug at our hearts more.
It was enough. I'm like, come on, man. As soon as I get to like somebody, and then I'm thinking the same thing here. Wait a minute, what's going on? This is a Wookiee. He's going to be okay. Although you do know those are the same species as Bosk, who they don't like. They hunt Wookiees for fun, right?
Well, they use them for slaves.
Yeah. Yes, and hunt them, and right. Now, along those lines, Fennec shows up to help out some of these people, and that's kind of cool. Right? She shows up, takes some shots. She saves these guys. Black Cathanchan needs to save himself. Stan, you have the heart to have tugged at. That's for sure, Stan.
What's that?
Nice job. I'm reading Holly's comment there.
Oh, you have a heart.
You have to have a heart.
Maybe that's why it didn't tug my heart. My black soul didn't didn't work.
All right, I love this guy. I love this guy.
He was awesome.
I love his negotiation skills. I love that he kind of hooks up with that Carla character. I did notice in one of the breakdowns of this episode that thing he's holding is a video game from the 1980s.
I recognized it immediately.
Did you?
Yeah.
It was one of those where you had to guess the pattern, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was a video game. There was pegs or something.
It's a game from the 19. They didn't even do anything to it. They just this is the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And of course,
is this the first time we saw writing in Star Wars, where they actually were writing on paper?
What was a paper, or was it?
Well, he got a pen and he was writing. So
I imagined it to be more of an iPad type situation where he's scribing on something. Yeah. Mastermind, something like that, Tina. Something similar to that.
That's the one.
I want to look for it. I want to buy one, and I want to use it as a communicator. Talk about the resurgence of an industry, right? The toy industry. Like, boom, we need this thing. That's cool. All right, so this guy comes up with Boba's offer, which is don't kill the messenger. Nothing.
This is why you got to do your research. Like Sam does all this work before the podcast. He's got to do his research before he walks out there and starts talking.
Yeah,
he has to read it first.
And he's like, nothing. That's exactly. No, but it does set up what I think is one of the coolest scenes ever, right? Just Mando flying up here with Boba flying over here. They start their little fight. It's just cool.
This was an awesome scene.
It was. And even there's some other imagery that I just love, like this one.
Yeah.
Just the sun, one of Tatooine's twin suns coming up with shining up the armor. It's just cool. It really is. Then early in the episode, Mando had gone to Freetown to try to ravel the troops, and those guys show up, of course. Which, sure, why not, right?
Well, we knew they were going to come.
And they did. The question was Cod going to be with them or not? We didn't know. We also saw that Black Cathantron did pretty well on his own. So he was limping there towards the end, but
he had a bad limp, but that went away quick.
It did, especially when he picked some of the pikes up and just started throwing them at each other. That was funny.
And I like how Boba Fett said, he said, I'll give you a soak in my bath later.
In the back of the tank, right? Which we found out is a misdirect. Because then later in the episode, he says, "Oh, it's being used," and
you don't
was the Wookiees using it.
You don't put a Wookiee in a back of tank because you know the hairball's never going to come out of that. It's going to clog it up, something awful. Can you imagine?
Dude,
you have to call a plumber.
Never put a Wookiee in a back of the tank.
No.
I love that quote, dude. That is awesome. All right, moving on. Dude, so kind of cool. A shout out to the Clone Wars. Some like a droidica, right? Droidicas are really cool. They're the smaller droids. This is a bigger version.
They called it out, and you know what? I should have paused it because Carla, she calls it what it actually is, and if you have the closed captioning on,
the closed caption.
I do that a lot. I meant to write it down. I never did.
Yeah,
but it is like a droid decal. Yeah.
It's like a droidica is what it is. And we found out right away that, it's pretty damn strong. Blasters couldn't go off it. Mando couldn't even get through it with the dark saber. But then there's a little hint. And if you think back to the Clone Wars, in this particular case, by putting something through it slowly, you can get through it. And that's what we saw Black Cathantron doing. His knuckles were starting to get through it. And if you think back to the Clone Wars, what they did is they rolled a grenade very slowly under this thing and it blew up within it. So that's how those guys did it.
Yeah, that's why when he had the darksaber, I thought if he would have went slower, it would have done better than.
Yeah, but I don't think you're thinking that. You're just whacking at the sucker. Now, one thing that I do have one criticism: why is everybody running right down the street?
Oh, I know. Yeah, I think they're trying to make it look like there's more people there.
Maybe that's it.
You got to blame the director on that one.
Yeah, I mean, run. You got to scatter. You should be going anywhere. People should be running to the right, running to the left, going everywhere. They're just running right down the street.
I thought the same thing.
At which point, dude, it's like, hey, look who's here. There she is. And Mando jumps on her. What are you doing here? Jason knows?
Yeah, Jason knows. If he's still watching, he'll know her name.
Oh, yeah. Jason, tell us, please. Or Tina, you might know too. What's her name?
Yeah.
We're blanking.
And I love the pit droids with her all the time, too.
Oh, they're hilarious.
Yeah.
You really are. It's comic relief, and I love it. Then, of course, she uncovers the blanket there on the side and goes, "Look who I got!" in the middle of the battle.
Yeah.
To which I think he just force leaps right into this guy's arms. So that was kind of cool.
That was really cool. Yeah.
It was kind of weird the way he jumped up there, but it was kind of neat.
But because we saw him jumping in the episode before,
exactly, Tina, we're thinking the same thing.
Yeah. The way he was jumping around the episode before, it was believable. If we didn't see that, it wouldn't have been.
Right. Yes, because he was jumping around and doing.
Yeah, when Luke was training him, and it was cool. I know this back, but I liked how Luke said it's not so much I'm training him; it's more like he's remembering. So he has had training.
Yes, he's remembering. That's exactly right. Kim, you are not late, although
Nope.
here's a question we have. Do you remember her name? Because Stan and I are both blanking. So
Yeah.
if you remember, let us know. We're both like, man. All right, we're going through Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 7. And of course, they're running from these huge droidicas, and here comes... Here he comes. And, dude, I loved that while he was coming aboard, you could see his scales kind of going back and forth.
Yeah.
That might be it. Is it Pele Monto? That might be it. Kim might be right.
Pele, that's it. Yeah.
Paley, there we go. Not Carla. Stop it with the Carla, because
I know
she
she just reminds me of Carla from Cheers.
I know. It's Pele.
Yeah, Paley.
That's the
That's
problem
it.
we got right now,
No,
Tina.
you got it, Kim.
It's Stan. It's all Stan. But of course, we figured all along that riding on top of right there,
Rancor.
there he is.
Yeah.
On top of the Rancor is Boba. Knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Because after all, these guys rode the great mythosaurs.
Well, and he promised us that he was going to learn how to ride it.
Yes.
That was such a unbelievable foreshadowing that there was no denying.
It is. It was absolutely the best. And you know what? He uses him to crush one of those droidicas. He takes one of them out. Then, Cad shows up. And we know we got some big stuff going on, which, by the way, it's easy to see in retrospect that it is a great part of the relationship there, Kim. This, to me, when you watch it again and you slow down, you're like, well, clearly he has his bantha stick behind him. And we see that it's there and it's in all of them. In fact, after they do the draw and he gets shot, you can still see the thing sticking up right there. So you knew what was coming. Cad gives him the good old, hey, this is it. End of the line for you. And of course, Boba wanted nothing to do with it. Grabs his stick, ends up fighting some more. And the next thing you know, Cad, who's like 73 years old at this point, I think, Stan.
He's an old man at this point, yeah, because he was already older when Boba was a kid, right?
When Boba was a kid, yeah. So
he had a career and a name for himself.
So the question is, was it a fatal blow, dude?
Not a chance.
Well, and here's my thing. You could see it right here, this red thing on him. When they pan out later, it's still blinking the entire time. That little red thing on him is blinking and blinking and blinking, and it makes me go, what is that? And is he done, or is he going to be back? Are we going to see this guy again?
There's no way that's fatal.
What do you guys think?
He's too popular of a character.
Tina, is he coming back? What do you think? Dave, is he coming back? Kim?
Yeah, there's not a hope in heck that that was a fatal blow.
Yeah, exactly. No, I do love, because as this is all going on, the Rancor gets away and starts to run all over the place. And come on, an obvious King Kong reference or what? I'm like, come on, man. Somebody watched King Kong as a kid and thought, we need a tower in Mos Espa just so the Rancor can climb it and we can make it look like King Kong. And if we could do a bi-wing, would have it come by and he'd grab it and throw it to the ground.
Yeah. Well, that was like the Clash of the Titans creature in one of the earlier episodes too. It was Ray
yes,
Bradbury.
with the 4 legs that came
Yeah.
up. Yeah. I don't know what that thing was called, but it was exactly a shout out to the movies we watched as kids, which clearly the directors were watching. Yeah. But here's what we learned: the Rancor goes nuts, and Mando could not tame him whatsoever. He was tossing him around like a little toy.
Mando took a beating.
He did take a beating, and it ended up being Grogu that calmed the beast. In a pretty cool little scenario there.
Beauty calmed the beast.
Beauty calmed the beast.
In the
Force
King Kong beauty killed the beast.
Yeah. But I love the way that went.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we end that episode. Then we go back to the headquarters of the bad guys, where the mayor is, where the Pike Syndicate is, where the leaders of each of these crime lords are. And Fennec takes care of all of them. Like, okay, she's the assassin. That's what she's known to be. So, boom, done.
And it was kind of funny because I never even realized that we knew that she left, but I never even noticed she was missing until she came back.
Right. Yes.
Because I would not at any point did I go, hey, where did Fennec go?
Right. Yeah. No, neither did I. But where did she go? She went and hunted them down and took care of them. And you're absolutely right. It was a cool scene.
With the
Yeah, Tina, especially with them sleeping, and Kim, you're absolutely right. Fennec is awesome. And here's all right, Stan. This is full circle back to where we started because we talked before. All right, this is your final shot within the city, where you got Black Cathantrums there. And remember, Boba had teased that the back to tank's being used. So he wasn't, and clearly it's not him now, but I didn't put two and two together. But the part I don't like, dude, these guys just went through a battle. They went through a war. They're dirty, they're scuffed up, and the bikes still look perfect.
Well, I think this is a few days after.
Do you think?
Oh yeah, because like people are
yeah,
cleaning things up. They're walking through the town, and they got their markets open again. Like it's not like right after. This is
It's
like
not immediately after.
Yeah, so like those kids, first thing they did is wash their bikes again.
Sure. Yeah, with whatever water they had or whatever they do. But here's that. Isn't this the droid that was in the kitchen trying to chase the rats?
This thing right here? Is that a droid or a creature?
I think it's a droid.
Okay.
I think it's that rat, the rat catcher.
It's like a bunny droid, I think they call it, type thing.
Or whatever they call it. It was like, okay.
Yeah, the rat catcher.
The rat catcher. All right, now I want to make a connection here because here we see Black Cathantrum and the fact that they introduced him during Book of Boba Fett. And remember, we mentioned before in this upcoming Obi-Wan, I think that he's going to show up here in that series. And here's why. Because when you look at this guy, he originally appeared, not originally, but he was in some of the comics. And in this case, it's Vader Down with Doc Alfra. And in those comics, he battled Obi-Wan on Tatooine when he was sent to collect the tax on the homestead for moisture farming that Obi-Wan defended the homestead from. Although Luke, I don't know if that's Luke or if that's Uncle Owen there. It's probably Uncle Owen. But it's interesting that I think he's going to show up in the Obi-Wan series is what I'm saying.
You could very well be right. I wouldn't be surprised a bit.
And if he does, we know he's going to live.
At this point, Jabba's still the crime lord, I'm guessing.
At this point, Jabba would still be the crime lord.
But he wouldn't be for Mos Eisley. He'd be for Mos Espa.
He would be
Mos Espa.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And he would send his tax collectors to all of the moisture farmers to collect taxes. And at this point in time, Obi-Wan was watching the homestead protecting Luke. That's all we knew. And now it's like, okay, this guy's going to show up. And that's going to be cool.
So it'd be a good comic book to get.
Yes, that's there's a couple of them. That one right there. Star Wars Marvel 20.
Okay.
I'll see it in the digital edition. And then, of course, what else did we think was going to happen? I think we called it, and in fact, Ed called it. As soon as she hollowed out the back where the droid was going to be inside of that Naboo fighter, we knew that that's where Grogu was going to end.
Yeah, we called that on the Grand Circle Tour roundtable discussion as well.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. It was pretty obvious, and I love the knock, 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 knock.
My cat does the same thing. Wants to go out in the sunroom, and we'll scratch the glass. And I'll say no, and it will go hard more. I'll go no, it will go fast. And then it will go up with 2 plus.
But the coolest part was he flipped that switch and he hit that the in-orbit accelerator or whatever, and poof, he was going.
This is
Coolest
the last
thing
time
ever. I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. All right, so that's how it wraps up. Mando season 3. Maybe it's the next time we see these guys. We see that they're in their Naboo fighter taking off. That's cool.
Is the Naboo fighter the appropriate ship for him to have?
Absolutely not. He's a bounty hunter.
Yeah,
he's a bounty hunter. Where's he going to put his cargo? Where's he going to put the guys he's freezing? What happens here? I don't know. I don't know what happens next with these guys. That's what Mando season 3 is all about. But it sure did bridge a gap in storytelling, though, Stan, because it took us from what happens next to, okay, Mando's got a ship. He's got Grogu back. He's, a lot of things happened.
It answered a lot of questions that we're wondering at the end of Mando season 2.
It fast forwarded the plot to set them up for Mando 3.
Yeah.
That's really what it did.
Yeah.
All right. So we also know remember, chapter 6 ended with, from a desert comes a stranger. Cad gets hit, and now we're all trained to the last chapter in any of these Disney Plus series to wait for the post credits. So in the post credits, we now know who was in the back of the tank because it was Cod Bam.
Yep. Getting some mod work done.
getting some mod work done because this scene pans up to the modder. So this is going to be interesting.
Where we're going to see him next.
This is going to set up, and I just think about this. This is all Jon Favreau, right?
Yeah.
Who's the mastermind behind the Avengers, man?
Mm-hmm.
Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
So is he setting up the Star Wars version of the Avengers?
That's exactly what he's doing.
You got Grogu, you got Mando, you got Boba, you got Cod Vamp, who's going to get some kind of modification. You got Fennec, you got Ahsoka, you got all of these characters. And remember, what's Ahsoka doing? Ahsoka's looking for General Thrawn. So the whole there's so much going on here. We haven't heard anything from Ezra Bridger, who was with so much, which takes me right back to looking at that timeline again, right? Because there's so much happening in the Star Wars universe that, especially there, we're specifically in this 9 ABY where we have the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett. We saw these things come together. We saw Ahsoka during both of those. She has her own series coming where she's looking for Thrawn. We also have this Rangers of the New Republic, which we don't know much about, even when it's coming out.
Yeah.
And I think next is going to be Mando season 3 in this entire journey here, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think so. Because what we're going to see next, we're going to have to wait. But what we're going to see next is we're going to rewind from 9 after the Battle of Yavin to 9 before the Battle of Yavin with the Obi-Wan series.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we're going to get the Bad Batch season 2, which is going to go back even further and fill us in towards the end of the Clone Wars. So we start.
I know it was a cartoon, but it was the droid series they talked about as well.
Yeah, Star Wars droids. And I
don't know if that's going to be canon or if it's going to be just kind of its own thing.
Well, I think it's going to be canon, but it's going to be these short off-the-cuff stories that could fit into different places. So I didn't put it on the timeline because I don't think there's a story arc that takes us from point A to point B, right? I think it's these little things in between.
Mm-hmm.
Although super interesting, 9 and I love the 9s here, Stan. We just talked about that 9 after and 9 before. Who's on the 9s here? That's just it's kind of interesting that it works out that way. We know that at 9 BBY, if Luke Skywalker was born at the end of chapter 3, he would be 10 years old. And we know that he was 19 during the Battle of Yavin. So he's 10 in this particular episode, in this series. And we have to talk about it for the last few minutes here, dude. We have to.
What's that, the trailer?
Oh, yeah. Although first, before we do that, I don't know if you saw this before, Stan. On Disney Plus, for at least before Christmas, there was an Obi-Wan Kenobi special kind of sneak peek behind the scenes trailer. It's only a minute and a half long. But it talks a little bit about this series coming up, and it hints that Obi-Wan's coming back. Ian McGregor's back. He'll be the Jedi. Story's told 10 years after the events of Star Wars, which puts us in 9 BBY. The Revenge of the Sith, where he's, he just saw the corruption of Anakin to become Vader. Let's watch that real quick. Is that cool?
Let's watch that.
There's a hunger for this character to come back. The fans have been waiting long enough,
Something that's extremely exciting is the return of obviously Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is quite a dark time that we're coming into with him. Just being a Jedi, it's not safe. There's Jedi hunters out there.
At least he has this one task left, which is to keep Luke safe.
That's definitely a starting place for our story. The interesting thing is going to be where it goes from there.
The most beautiful thing of all is that it's brought me back together with Hayden.
We are bringing back Hayden Christensen to reprise the role of Darth Vader. We couldn't tell the story of Obi-Wan Kenobi without addressing Anakin or Vader.
Have another swing at each other might be quite satisfying for everybody. We hope that you enjoy it as much as we enjoy making it.
So cool, dude. So
Yeah.
cool. I don't even know where to start with that whole thing because it is so cool. So at that point we knew it was coming in 2022. Now we know when. But
May
and look at
25th.
the May 25th, which by the way, I know a lot of people are going, why isn't it May the 4th? Why isn't it May the 4th? But Stan, you know why it's the 25th, right?
I'm guessing they're tying it with Celebration in some regard.
It's the day before Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim, California. The event that was historically every 2 years, but we lost one of them because of COVID. So there's a lot of pent up demand. There's a lot happening, and dude, I think there's going to be some huge premiere somewhere for those people.
I'm guessing they're going to get to see the second episode.
Yeah,
is what I'm guessing.
Could be. Yeah. Dude, it's how many episodes are there? Do you know?
I haven't heard. I have not heard.
We'll take a look here in a minute. I love Obi-Wan's lightsaber over here.
I never even noticed that. Cool.
Yeah, the eye is his saber.
Yeah.
That's it's like that is cool. All right, so that's what we knew. We got a brand new trailer. Let me hit forward here again to make sure I got the right one. We got a brand new trailer. I'm going to let this run through, Stan, and then you and I will come back and pause it a couple of times. Sound good?
The fight is done. We lost. Stay hidden.
The key to hunting Jedi is patience. Jedi cannot help what they are. Their compassion leaves a trail. The Jedi code is like an itch. You cannot help it. Where is he?
I got to tell you, man, I think one of the coolest things of that, Stan, is the lightsaber at the end over the Disney Plus. I just think that's so cool. It's like, I love it. It is so neat. So many things to talk about there. It's just crazy. I can't wait to see this. Any Star Wars fan has to love this thing.
So Obi-Wan's riding an Yopi.
He is right there, which we saw in the previous trailer that we watched there. That's at the end of episode 3. He rides one of those when he takes the infant Luke Skywalker and gives it to his step uncle. Is that how it was? I forget exactly. We'll talk about that one later. Owen and Beru.
Yeah.
Awesome to see him riding that. Clearly Tatooine.
What is that beside him there?
I think it's a cantina, but for a while I thought maybe it was some type of a saber, or I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
This looks
the Lars Homestead.
Clearly, exactly like we saw it in A New Hope, with Luke right here. How cool, right? So zoom in on that. Clearly 10 years old, right?
Yeah.
10 years old.
Wanting to do pod racing.
And it looks like it, and everybody's pointed that out. It looks like he's wearing pod racing goggles, which look exactly like a young Anakin was wearing when he was on Tatooine doing pod racing. Who knows? They could be the same pair. You never know, right? Who knows? but it's just cool that he's there looking to looking to the stars
I guess
already.
Shmi could have kept the goggles, eh?
Exactly. And a couple of people had pointed that out, that they might be the same goggles that Anakin wore. You never know. He could have been told these were your dad's. So who knows?
Stay hidden.
Stay hidden with Obi-Wan looking down is cool. I love the little binoculars he was looking through there.
And what's good here is his face looks worried because he's seeing already Anakin and Luke being very similar people.
Clearly. And I think that's intentional, right? They're the same. They want to get off this planet, right? Remember, Anakin was a slave, and right now Luke is working for his aunt and uncle, looking at the stars, trying to get off.
Yeah,
it's true. It's absolutely true. Gotta love the sand that blows in. Anakin's favorite thing, right? The sand.
The key.
Have we seen this ship before?
Only in that other trailer. I don't think that we've seen this ship before. Maybe in the Fallen Order video game. I'm not sure.
Okay. It did not look familiar to me at all.
I love Stan. The top of this ship looks exactly like Vader's castle.
Oh, okay. To me,
with Vader's castle. It's got that same. I see Vader's castle. But we know, and one of the reasons why I kept this on, the Grand Inquisitor is talking. The key to tracking down a Jedi is patience. So for those that might not know, the Inquisitors were Jedi hunters that were working for Darth Vader after Order 66 to hunt down and track any Jedi that survived Order 66.
Hunt down and kill.
Clearly, hunt down and kill, yes. Which clearly is Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda. Those are the two that we know make it to a new.
Well, there was a few still around.
There were a few. Yep.
As we were going to find out.
Absolutely.
Even in this trailer.
Yes, which makes you wonder.
To hunting Jedi.
Oh, I want to go back just a second there. At the beginning of that clip right there, I had thought. I'll let this go for a second. At the beginning of that clip, Stan, I had thought it was Vader's castle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's the home of the Inquisitors.
Hunting Jedi.
So that's the home of the Inquisitors, is where this thing's going, which I thought was interesting, right? Which, by the way, is on a planet very close to Mustafar, which is where Vader's castle is. So he could stop by and check on them if he needed to. So that was him, the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Jedi.
I skipped ahead in the slides. I sorry about that. But no, he's the Grand Inquisitor, right?
Yeah.
Which are known for, and he doesn't look exactly like he does in Rebels, but they're known for the saber that they can hold and it spins to them around, it's really intimidating.
It's like a training saber.
It's cool though to have two Kybers pushing out and you hold it out and the thing just spins like a helicopter. Looks like you could take off with the sucker, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does. It really does. Then we also saw some other characters here. This is one of the Inquisitors, but she has a name. I think it was Raya, not Raya, Rena, something along those lines. But she's on a different planet. So at some point, it looks like Obi-Wan leaves Tatooine to go to another planet, which maybe if the Inquisitors are getting close to him, maybe he's leaving to throw their scent off so they don't find Luke.
Or they could be, she could be tracking a Jedi and the Jedi comes to Tatooine and she follows the Jedi there.
Very possible.
It could be that, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, I do. So Kenobi's on, it looks like, I don't know what city that's going to, but it looks like public transportation, right?
Yeah, it looks to me, you know what that makes me think of is, you know how they would pick up workers, especially during the Depression? They would pull up with a truck and they go, whoever wants to work, hop in.
It could be.
That's what it kind of looks like to me, like they're going into a mine or something.
Yeah, exactly. And they're headed that way. Then we get back to that castle, which is mostly underwater, by the way. And a couple of the Inquisitors, you can see that thing on their back, which is
there's Raya again.
Stormtroopers. Yep, there are lots of stormtroopers in here. Really interesting to see what's happening there. Then we're back into the city. It looks like they are displaying someone there that maybe
guessing that's a Jedi.
Harbor Jedi. Is it a Jedi or somebody that was harboring one? Either way, right?
Maybe, yeah, either or.
Either or. But we also see our new bad guy here who is hunting down. That's Uncle Owen, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So these two make contact. So they're darn close to Luke at this point, you would think, which is maybe
No, at this
why.
point, does Owen know Luke's abilities and Luke's history? Because she could be sensing something from Owen at this point.
It's possible. Something's going on there, which is really like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
Jedis leave a trail. Then the next thing we see, she's on a different planet because I think Kenobi left. Obi-Wan left to throw their scent off and make it seem like he's just moving around. Then some more rebels, some more nightlife. So many interesting stills in this stand. So many things we can take on it. A new droid.
Yep.
I think
but you know what, though? Often in Star Wars, they'll show something like this, and it'll end up just being like a background character.
It's a misdirect of some sort. Yeah, absolutely.
Was that a Jawa?
There was a Jawa in here somewhere.
Falling?
I went too fast. I'm sorry.
We're back in this city again.
Back in the city?
I don't think we've ever seen a Jedi Jawa.
A Jedi Jawa.
That'd be cool.
So what a Jedi sand person, now that you mention it.
Yeah.
Dang, dude. We're all over the map tonight. Sorry about that, everybody. Thanks for watching. Here we go with the that's a Jedi symbol that's on the wall. So this is probably Obi-Wan that she's tracked down. But if he uses his lightsaber, he gives away that he's a Jedi, so he can't do that, which is why he's got a blaster. The primitive weapons. You got to love Hope survives, right? Because this leads right into A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I look at it. Then you get Obi-Wan looking down, and ultimately the date. And my favorite part, which I want to play again, which is that. I love that.
If that's your favorite part from that trailer,
that is so cool, man. All right, now then, Stan, you had turned me on to something else. The age. You're absolutely right, Kim. It fits in perfectly with the storyline because it's the same actor that played Episode 3 is playing here, and it's perfect the way it lines up.
Mm-hmm.
Stan, you shared with me an exclusive first look that dropped today, which is the first image of Vader from this series, which is cool as can be. So we know that Hayden Christensen's in this.
Mm-hmm.
He's Vader. Are we going to see flashbacks? Are we going to see Hayden as Anakin and Obi-Wan in flashbacks to the Clone Wars? There's so many cool places they could take this, dude.
I never even thought of flashbacks.
It's possible. Because otherwise, if you see Hayden, it's going to be the deformed Hayden Christensen.
As long as he doesn't start talking about sand again, we'll be okay.
Maybe that's why he never goes to Tatooine.
That's why he doesn't go to Tatooine to look for Obi-Wan ever. Because there's sand there.
Maybe that's it, dude.
Yeah.
You might have the entire thing worked out right there. I love that, though. It is so cool to see him there.
Yeah. This is going to be such a good series. I can hardly wait.
Same here, dude. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to see how this works out. It'll be here before you know it. And then we have so much other stuff to look forward to. That's really what I keep going back to. There's so much to look forward to. So many things coming in the Star Wars universe. Thank you, Disney Plus, for making all this stuff possible, right?
I would imagine at some point Ben has to find out that Yoda is on Dagobah. Could we see Yoda in this series? Because he tells Luke to go to Dagobah. There you will find Yoda, the Jedi Master that taught me. So Ben is one that knows that Yoda's at Dagobah. So I'm wondering if
he does. You're right,
going to happen.
You're right. He absolutely does know that he's there.
Was Frank Oz away from home at all this past summer?
It's a great question, though, and so all right. Let's speculate here for a second, Stan, because I got the timeline up again. The timeline is 9 BBY, and we mentioned earlier this is right after Solo, and we know at the end of Solo,
Maul,
Cara, and Maul were both in charge of the Crimson Dawn, which is the crime, whatever. Could Crimson Dawn
crime syndicate?
Could that crime syndicate somehow end up on Tatooine? Jabba the Hutt is the ruler here. It's his throne. Nothing's happened there yet.
Speaking of Crimson Dawn and the Galactic Star Cruiser, did you notice that the Crimson Dawn logo is on the atrium floor?
I did notice. I didn't ask about it, but yeah, that is pretty cool.
So
That's super cool.
Could the Galactic Star Cruiser appear in this?
Absolutely. The Halcyon could absolutely. That thing's been
175 years old.
275 years. Yeah, absolutely could make it there.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, it could be there. So many other characters could show up here too. I mean, dude, Lando could end up in this thing.
Yeah.
Right? Which, by the way, there's a Lando series coming too that we haven't talked about. It could tie into a young Lando series. Some of the characters could spill over into Andor, right? We could find some that might look like throwaway characters, but then they end up showing up in other things. Possible, right?
Yeah.
All the characters that are in Rebels. Maybe we visit Lothal. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be really cool.
Kim saying they got to feature it. I mean, why wouldn't they, right?
Yeah, exactly. If nothing else, it's going to be in the background, so those people that analyze every little frame see it.
Yeah. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. We're going to have lots to talk about.
And thank you, Stan. We haven't even talked about the Star Cruiser. We'll get to that next time. But thank you for catching us up on the Book of Boba Fett. So, best part of Book of Boba Fett. What did you like?
It has to be Mando and Grogu.
Mando and Grogu.
Yeah.
So it's funny. What I said last time was I had two big questions going into this that I wanted answered. How to get out of the Sarlacc pit and how do he lose his armor? Right. And we knew the answer in the first 3 minutes of the first chapter.
Yeah. No kidding.
It's like, okay, now what? Which led us on a completely different way of storytelling. And I'm fine with all that.
You know what? I was enjoying Book of Boba Fett. And when Mando did that one episode, I really enjoyed Book of Boba Fett. It
changed everything. Well, I felt that
it brought a new oxygen, a new life to the whole series when that came.
It did, and I felt like maybe it was. I don't want to say that it was a little slow, but it was maybe a little slow in some of those episodes.
And as much as I enjoyed the flashing back and forth, I think they did themselves a disservice doing that with the Tusken Raider storyline and the
back and forth in the back of the tank, flashback,
and the Crime Lords.
It's a little hard to follow the present versus the previous, but
it wasn't hard to follow. It just got to be kind of almost annoying at a point.
Yeah, like come on, tell me the story.
It was a little bit too much.
But then those last 3 episodes, we got to, which were really the Mandalorian 2.5.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah,
like Kim's right. The tribal side of the side. I got to know the Sand People. Then I got to know a couple of Gamorrean guards.
Yeah,
and then they were all gone. So,
locked them all off.
All right, Stan. Thank you so much, my friend.
It's been a pleasure. It was thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it. And thank you guys for joining us. We always love talking Star Wars. That's for sure. Stan, we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks, maybe a month. I don't know how it's going to work out. We'll see what happens. But
and Sam, May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you, Stan. Check out the solo show. Check out Sam's Dizzy Diary. May the Force be with you.
For watching and listening to WRRT WompRat Radio Tatooine.
Goodbye, old friend. May the Force be with you.
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 May the Force be with us all.
And may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with us.
May the Force be with you.
And may the Force be with us.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you both.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with us.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
The Force will be with you. Always. Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with us.